All right. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me today for our June virtual club. Today we're doing an embroidery project. There will be a little bit of sewing for one of the parts, but mainly it's an embroidery project. And today we're talking about embroidering on garments. It's a super popular thing that I think people think of when they want to get an embroidery machine, is they assume they're going to want to embroider on like shirts, pants, you know, fabrics, but fabrics you're going to wear, cardigans, things like that. So that's what we're going to work on today. The designs we're going to be using, they come from this Amazing Designs Master Collection. This is a nice collection. I'll show it to you in a minute, but it has just a ton of designs on it. It says over 700 plus designs. Everything comes on a USB already, which makes it super easy to use in your machine. Comes in multiple formats: art, BLF, DST, EXP, HUS, JEF, which is Janome, JEF, PES, comes in Viking formats. So yeah, comes in a lot of different formats as well. So it will work with multiple machines. So we'll talk about this in a little bit. This is what we're using for today. You'll need some type of t-shirt to embroider on. There's two different options for the design pack that we're using on this collection. So whether you have a t-shirt that has more of a V-neck, or if you have something that has like this scoop neck, there's neckline designs for both options, the scoop neck or the V-neck. So we'll be working with those today. If your machine has snowman stickers, you'll want to get those as well. The snowman stickers have been around since the Quattro, which is about the time I started working here. So that was 15 years ago. So there's been a lot of machines that utilize these snowman stickers. And I just want to say, if your machine has these snowman stickers, that would be the Quattro, Elissimo, the Dream Machine, the Destiny, the Luminaire, the Solaris, and then of course the Avenir, the Radiance. Also any of the Brother 10 needle machines, not the 6 needle, but the 10 needle machines, they all use these snowman stickers. If you have these stickers with your machine and you've never used them, we have a class specific to using the snowman stickers. And you don't even have to bring your machine. You get to use our machines. We provide the stickers. We provide the projects that you're going to be sewing on, embroidering on. We show you multiple ways to use these. These are one of the best inventions for an embroidery machine that has came out. It's absolutely incredible what they do for you. We're going to be showing them today. And then remember, if you want more hands-on, we have that hands-on class where you get to use these. So yeah, we'll be using snowman stickers today. Because we're embroidering on a fabric that has a lot of stretch to it, a lot of times anything you're going to wear, you're not going to tear the stabilizer away. So it's a nice way to remember it. T-shirts, sweatshirts, they have a ton of stretch to them. Even a lot of denim nowadays has a lot of stretch to it. So we're going to be utilizing a cutaway stabilizer. And we're actually going to be working with a sticky cutaway today. So you can see how the sticky stabilizers work. What that means is there's a paper backing on the stabilizer, and we're going to be, when you tear that paper away, the stabilizer is nice and tacky. So we're going to be using a sticky cutaway stabilizer today. I am using a 6x10 hoop, since these designs for the necklines that we're doing today are a little bit bigger than a 5x7 hoop, just a hair bigger than 5x7. So you do need at least a 6x6. Probably a 6x6 would probably work, or a 6x10 would be a nice size as well. We're also going to be utilizing the Floriani software. I'm going to show you how you can print out your embroidery design. Printing out your embroidery design is a fantastic way to visually see placement, size, what it's going to look like on your project before you actually stitch it out. So I'm going to be showing you how to do that today. And then, of course, we just need some basic little things. You will need 2 pins. Just a couple clips will be helpful. I think that's it. So let's get going. Before we get going, I want to show you what I've stitched out from this project, or from this design pack. So this is one of the neckline designs. So these stitch out in 2 parts. There is an option to stitch it out all in one hooping. I think that would be really hard, as you'll see in a moment, for how we have to pull the backing fabric away. But if you were making your own t-shirt and you decided to embroider on the fabric before you cut the pattern out, I would do it in the one hooping. Obviously, there's no need to do it in two hoopings when your fabric is nice and flat like that. Or if you do want to take out a side seam so everything can open up and lay flat, you could also do it in one hooping. But we're going to do the two hoopings today so I can show you how how easily and perfectly they line up. And then just because we're talking about garments and Floriani software, this is a garment that I embroidered on. So this is just a big sweatshirt that I have for when it's cool at night and I'm in my pajamas. I like big comfy sweatshirts. So I embroidered on the back of this. This was too big to fit in one hooping, so I took the embroidery design into the Floriani software and I split it with the Floriani software. So I was able to embroider half and then the other half just in two hoopings. Very similar to the two hoopings that we're going to do today on the t-shirt. Very similarly how Floriani will split a design and help you line up the second half. So we're talking about split designs today and how you get them lined up. Sticky stabilizer, snowman sticker, Floriani. We have a lot we're going to talk about, so let's get going. Set these aside. Okay, here we go. I would like to, how can I do this? Minimize this screen. Open up my Floriani. So you should be able to see my Floriani software here in just a second. Just a moment. Okay, I'm just going to go like this, which looks really weird right now, but let's pull up the Floriani software. Okay, so you should be able to see the Floriani software right now. This is a full digitizing software. This is a really nice software because it gives you so many options. The first cool thing about the Floriani software is you get free updates for life. So that is always fantastic. As they update the software, you're going to get those, you're always going to be able to get those updates for free. The next thing is it's going to do full digitizing. That means I can bring in an image and have it auto digitize. I can bring in an image as a backdrop and do my own digitizing as well. And I can digitize down to editing individual stitches, which just means I have a ton of control over anything that I want to work with. All right, so I am going to grab my design first. So just looking for another USB port. Okay. I'm gonna have to unplug my camera for a moment. So sorry, that's probably really weird on your end. And I'm gonna look for my embroidery designs. I just want to pull them up on my computer here, and then I'm gonna plug my camera back in. So sorry about that. I should have thought to have these designs on my computer already. Saving them to the desktop, and I will be right back in 1 minute. Fantastic. There they are on the desktop. Going to plug my camera back in. Okay. And no, sorry. Oh my goodness. Here we go. Here's my camera. Goodness, sorry about that. Okay, now we're ready to roll. Thank you for your patience with that. All right, back to my Floriani software here. So I have the jeweled necklines. I'm going to get rid of that hoop for a second. I'm going to go to this upper corner here and I'm going to open a design. I saved it to the desktop, so I'm going to search there. And I should have a folder called, let's see here. Special embroidery. Okay, I am just going to minimize this. Here we go. ADC 272. Okay, yeah, I can. We're going to come back to this. I'm sorry, I'm not sure why I'm having so many issues with this. Okay, we're going to come back to that in a second. Talk about the Floriani software in just a moment. Okay, so what we're going to do here is we're having two designs that we're going to work with. So like I said, the designs come on a USB. I'm just going to plug that right into my machine and go to my embroidery files. And I'm going to ask it to look what's on my USB. Everything is under designs. And you can see there's a lot built in. So there's some in the hoop projects in here. So I have some in the hoop quilt blocks that I can do. As you can see, different sizes, 5-inch, 6-inch, or 8-inch designs to choose from. All the different formats like I talked about. So this is super nice design pack for multiple machines. I'm going to choose the PES. There's two different options. I'm going to choose the highest number, so that's PES 6. So you can see these are some in the hoop quilt blocks. This is really nice. This is where you piece each section individually. So you're piecing on the embroidery side of your machine. There's this design pack, and there is also Christmas pieced blocks in the hoop as well. Another thing that we have in here is two different quiet books that you can make. So there's critters and there's farm animals. So again, I'll choose my PES. So you can see I have these really cute, I'll just go ahead and click one. So it's a quiet counting book. So, and it is applique. Anytime you have these open areas, that's where you would put fabric in. So really, really cute designs built in. All right. We are working today with what is called the jeweled necklines. But there's also floral designs, nautical designs, sketchbook flowers, owls, novelty bookmarks. We're doing the jeweled necklines today, and we're also going to be talking about fashion free motion. Oh, that was the bookmarks. Sorry. Jeweled necklines. Okay. So for each style of neckline, I have quite a few different options. I have all-in-one, both V-shaped and the scoop neck. And then I have the V-neck broken into the A side and the B side. And then I have with the scoop neck broken into side A and side B. Side A and side B are where we're doing it in two different hoopings, and it's going to stitch out the registration marks. And then I just have some kind of standalone design. So maybe if I wanted to make this longer or stitch it on like the cuff of a t-shirt, so something on the neckline, and then also design smaller on the cuff. So some really nice options. So these are some kind of snowflakes. I have some hearts. I have some butterflies. The seashells are really, really cute. We're going to be working with this, this star design today, but I also have dragonflies. I have an autumn kind of leaf design. This is the one that I stitched out on the other shirt, this just kind of swirl design that was really pretty. And then we have these flowers and these little peacock feathers, and then we're back to the start. So today we're going to be working with the stars. And we have an A file and a B file. So we'll start with the A file. Okay. You can see this design is 5.6 by 5.4. So again, just a hair outside of my 5x7 hoop. I'm going to go ahead and set this. And here's my design. All right. So when we're hooping our first part of the project, I'm going to come over here to my hooping area. The first part of the project here, I'm going to start by getting my stabilizer in the hoop. So again, this is a sticky cutaway stabilizer. Cutaway because I'm using a stretchy fabric. I'm just going to loosen my hoop just a hair. And there's two sides to the stabilizer. One side that looks like stabilizer and one side that looks like paper. I want the paper side facing up. So I'm going to hoop just the stabilizer. Just make sure that's nice and tight in there. Okay. And now I'm going to grab a pin. So I hoop with the paper side facing up, and now I want to score that paper. So I'm just going to make like an X shape across. I'm going to push kind of just gentle. I don't want to cut through the stabilizer itself. I just want to score through the paper. And then where that X comes together in the middle, I'm just going to dig in with my pin, and I should be able to get that little corner pulled up. And now I'm just done with that pin. I'm going to put it away. Now I'm just going to pull this all the way to heads and expose all of that sticky stabilizer. There we go. All right. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the shirt that I want to work with. Now, what I wanted to show you in the Floriani software, and I'm just having troubles pulling it up because the computer that I'm filming on is also the computer that I was trying to pull the Floriani software up on, and it's getting confused with wanting to show this camera here and what I'm recording versus like doing things in the Floriani software. So I'll see if I can figure that out in a minute. But in the meantime, I'm just going to kind of get my shirt to where it's laying nice. So I can see that my side seams are even. There we go. Good. Now with a V-neck, it's pretty clear where that center is. With something like a scoop neck, which we're also going to use, we would want to fold the fabric in half, which I'll show you in a minute. So in the Floriani software, I am going to have it bring up the design that I want to use, and then I'm just going to ask it to print that design. So when it does that, it prints these designs in two sheets. It prints my A design, and then it would also print my B design on a separate sheet. But notice how I have these nice little crosshairs here. So that shows me my vertical and horizontal lines, which I'm going to need when I use that snowman sticker. The other thing that it prints out with each of my A and my B files is my stitching colors. I don't necessarily need this printed out, so you can always just, tell your computer not to print that second page out. We really just need the stitch file itself. You do want to be aware that you have your printer set to 100%. We don't want it to resize it. Otherwise, the placement features are not going to, line up. So now I'm just going to take some scissors and I'm going to cut away just kind of close around the edge of the design, but make sure you leave those two X's in there. Those are going to be your registration marks for placement. So we'll just cut away fairly close. It doesn't have to be super picky. Okay. So what I have is an A file and a B file that I've cut out. And you can see once we're ready, we'll be able to match up those little crosshairs, and that's how it's going to help me line up. I'm going to start with my A file, which is going to be the left side of my shirt. And I could just visually, again, because this is a V-neck shirt, I can see where that center is, and I can just visually line up the X's with that center mark. And then I can play around with how close I want the stitching to get to the collar here. So keeping the X's straight. If I try to veer it at all, well, now my next design would stitch out in this direction. So you want to visually see that these two X's are stacked on top of each other in that vertical alignment with the center. I think that looks pretty good. So I'll have a little bit of space around the neck, and then when I bring the other one in, it will line up perfectly. So what I'm going to do here, and I've already done this on this piece, but I'm going to show you here. So you come around to the other side. All right, so here's what one of my cutout pieces look like. I can see that these two pieces are stacked on top of each other. If I twist it, I might get confused about what is my vertical and what is my horizontal line. So I'm going to keep those two lined up, one on top of the other. So now I can see this is my horizontal line going across, and this is my vertical line, and then I have two lines at 45-degree angles. So what I'm going to want to do is fold this paper along that horizontal line, and this is going to help me with placement for my snowman sticker. So I'm just going to make that nice fold there. And now I can come back and fold it back on itself, right on that same line. There we go. And I really just need that horizontal line, as you'll see in a minute. And I want it so the paper is folding towards me. And you'll see why right now. I'm going to scoot the camera around this way so you're looking at it same direction as I am. I think that will be helpful. Okay. Yeah, that looks good. Okay, so now we're going to grab one of our snowman stickers. So now that I have my template set where I want it to be, I'm going to hold it down in place, and I'm going to fold that flat back that I just made. That is my horizontal line, which I want to match up with the horizontal line on my snowman sticker. And then I have these vertical lines here that I'm also going to make sure I line up. So I'm not going to go too far over to the side. I'm going to line up my vertical lines and my horizontal lines. But I need to be able to fold this template down so I can get this sticker underneath and see where I want to go. Now, if I'm worried about anything moving, I could go ahead and pop a pin right in these two placement areas, or even put a little clip there. I don't think my clips will go that far, so let me pop a little pin in there. That way I can see that as I'm placing this, I don't have to worry about anything shifting on me. There we go. Okay, I'm going to fold this down. I'm going to lift it up slightly so I can get the sticker underneath. And again, I'm just watching the vertical alignment. Bring you over here. Let's double check that my camera can still see. Yes, that's good. Okay. I can see vertically as I'm sliding the sticker down, that it's lined up with that vertical line. And then as I fold this down, well, there's my horizontal. I like that. It's lined up very nicely. And then as I fold this back, my verticals are lining up also. So I'm just matching vertical and horizontal lines on my template with the vertical and horizontal lines on my snowman sticker. That's fantastic. I'm happy with that. I can take the pins out and I'm done with my template. Floriani software, when you use their print feature, will put these vertical and horizontal marks on your fabric for you. So it makes it really easy to now utilize your snowman sticker. All right, let's talk about how we're going to hoop this. We can't just lay it flat on the hoop because then we're going to sew the front to the back. So hooping is a little different when you're using something tubular. I am going to scoot us back over this way. And I'm going to scoot the camera out of the way. You know what? No, I'm sorry. I'm bringing us back over the other way. I liked it better over here. Okay. Goodness. Just got a full view of everything. All right. Here we go. Let me just make sure the camera placement is good. That should be okay. All right. What I want to do now is I want to take my t-shirt and I'm actually going to turn it inside out. I find that is the easiest way to do this, is my fabric is just truly inside out. Just going to bring my hoop over, making sure the part that attaches to the machine is over here on my left, just as it will insert into the machine. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my t-shirt and I'm just going to start opening up this little tunnel here so I can find where my snowman sticker is. So I can see my snowman sticker here. I am just going to worry about the sticker first. I am going to move it so that sticker is close to the center of my hoop. Now, how do I know where the center of my hoop is? I have these lines going across, these two little bumps here, and these two little bumps on the top and bottom. I could take a marking pen and actually mark that so I had a visual on my stabilizer, but I'm just going to eyeball it. This design is not going to take the full 6x10 area, so I don't need to be super precise with it. So now that I can see my sticker is on my fabric, now I'm just going to start worrying about the fabric. I don't want it to pucker at all, and I don't want to stretch it. So I'm going to lay this area down first, and I'm going to work in one direction. So I'm going to just start smoothing the fabric onto the sticky stabilizer. And if I get any little puckers like this, I may just have to lift the fabric up, let it relax, and then kind of reset it back down. So you're just going a little bit slower here. Just really being sure that you're not pulling the fabric, you're just letting it lie down naturally. All right, so that whole top corner looks really nice. We'll continue on now. So now I'm going to worry about going up to the side here. So again, lifting it up and just seeing where it relaxes down. Pretty happy with that. Now I remember I don't need to utilize this whole hoop. My fabric's not, or my design's not going to be stitching way down to the bottom of my hoop. I really just need kind of this area here. I can also, once again, go ahead and grab that template and just lay it there. Line it up with the lines on my sticker and see, okay, this is the area I'm about to embroider in. And yes, all of that fabric is laying nice and flat, and I'm really happy with that. The sticky stabilizer, I just want to give that extra little press of the fabric onto the stabilizer to make sure it's held really nicely. All right, that's that. We have this little kind of tube of fabric, and we're embroidering on the inside of that tube. So let's go ahead and get this to our machine. I'm going to scoot back over this way. I am going to let's get some things out of the way here. Got a lot happening. Okay. I have to be careful when I'm attaching my hoop because I have all of this fabric that can catch on the foot there. So I'm going to get the hoop under the presser foot first. And now I'm going to start worrying about this big chunk of fabric here and just pushing it down. I'm not going to go too far because I've already slid past where my arm is going to attach. So I'm going to pull it back a little bit just to get where my hoop insert's connected. Slide it on down and latch it in place. Now that my hoop is connected, I can really kind of start trying to tame all this fabric here. So I'm going to want to keep all of this pulled away from my stitch area. So this fabric on the left here, I can see this is my sleeve. I'm going to pull that up and I'm actually going to loop it around here on the side and I'm going to clamp it to the edge of my stabilizer. That's going to help keep it pulled away from my stitch area and I don't have to worry about it falling in as I'm embroidering. That's what I like to use the little wonder clips for when I'm embroidering on a t-shirt, is just to keep the rest of this fabric pulled away. I can just bunch all of this fabric here at the bottom together and put a clip there. That was not attaching to anything, but again, my design's not even going down here, so I don't have to worry about this stuff over here. I do worry about this falling in, so again, I'm just going to kind of pull it back, grab a clip, and just see what I can attach it to. It doesn't always have to attach to the stabilizer. Sometimes I'm just clipping layers together so they stay more pulled away. And I'll put one more on this side. Just kind of pulling it quite far away and just catching it to something else so it has something to hold on to. There we go. So I've made this nice little area for my fabric. Now, I did get ahead of myself. We still have to tell the machine that we're using the snowman sticker. And when I use the snowman sticker, the hoop is going to move. So I do have to worry about this bulk of fabric here in the back. I have a little roll of fabric here in the back. I'm worried about the foot catching on that. So what I'm going to do is just kind of give myself a bit of room here. And I've pulled that fabric to the back corner. So my hoop is open all the way to the back corner and my fabric is pushed back. I can feel the edge of the hoop right here. I know that when the machine scans, it's going to want to go to this top left corner. So I'm just giving it access to that top left corner. That did pull my fabric in on the right a little bit. That is totally fine. I'm not worried about that. All right, here we go. I am going to tell the machine I'm ready for embroidery. And I want to tell it that I'm using my snowman sticker. So I'm going to go up into my edit screen and click on my little snowman sticker. It says it has to revert the design. What that's telling me is if I've already moved this design or angled it or did anything to play around with the position of the design, it is going to have to reset that position so it can properly place it using the snowman sticker. I want it to place it for me. I don't want to have to do any of that myself. So I'm going to go ahead and tell it okay. Now this is, excuse me, a really nice visual. It shows me the snowman sticker and it shows that being the center of my design and it shows the little center crosshair. So that means where my sticker is placed, that is going to be the center of my design. And remember, according to my template here, that is showing me the center of my design. Even though it's not stitching up into this area, it is the true center of the design. Now, why does it give you different options? Well, remember how this design pack gave me some separate embroidery designs? So say I want to embroider along the top neckline of a shirt, but then I also maybe want to embroider something in like the bottom corner of a shirt. Well, if I need to show it the center of my design to get into this bottom corner, say I want my design to be 1 inch from the bottom, I'm going to have to see how big this design is. It was a little over 5.5 inches tall. So I'd have to divide that measurement in half. So half of 5.5 is like 2 3/4. So I'd have to measure up 1 inch and then measure up 2 3/4 and tell it, okay, here's the center of my design. That's not hard to do. It's just a lot of math. It's so much easier to just tell the machine, hey, here where I placed the sticker, so here's my side seam. Here where I placed my sticker, so I measure up 1 inch, place my sticker right here. I'm just going to grab another sticker because I think visual is a lot better for people than sometimes just explaining. So this is the bottom of my t-shirt. This is the side seam running up the side right here. I'm going to measure over and up about 1 inch, and I'm going to place my sticker right there. Well, that's not where I want the center of my design, but I have other options here. That's where I want the bottom right corner of my design. So if I click on that option, the sticker goes over here and it says, oh, okay, your sticker is right here. That's the bottom right corner, and I need to stitch your design out in this direction. So if I look at my fabric, my sticker is here. That's the bottom right corner, and it's going to stitch my design out in this direction. So it is truly placing your design for you just by you placing the sticker on your fabric. So if you've ever had where you hoop fabric and it just looks like, maybe if you've made crosshairs on your fabric, it looks like the crosshairs aren't truly straight. That's okay. If your crosshairs are slightly crooked, you just tell the machine, hey, this is the vertical and horizontal line. This is where I want my design, maybe the center of my design. And it's going to go, oh, I have to stitch your design a little crooked because you hooped slightly crooked. You don't have to take the time to rehoop your fabric when you're using these snowman stickers, which is truly the magic of them. They really make embroidery perfect, exactly where you're going to want it to be on your fabric, and really time saving as well. That's what I love about these. All right, back to our project. This is truly where I want the center of my design to be. So that happens to be that first option where snowman is in the sticker, and that's the center, and it's going to stitch my design around that. So I'm going to tell it to go ahead and scan, which means the camera in the machine is going to turn on, and it's going to look for that snowman sticker. So I'm going to press scan, and then I'm going to move the camera over so you can see what's happening. So in the bottom corner here, scan. It tells me the embroidery arm is going to move. I say, okay. And it's going to move to that upper left-hand corner. And it's just essentially taking a picture of my fabric. And once it sees where that sticker is, it drops the foot and it says, okay. And it hovers right over the center of the belly of that snowman sticker. So what it's done now, and it's going to be slightly hard to see on the screen here because I didn't hoop the fabric very crooked, but it has moved my design over slightly and down slightly because of how I put it in the hoop. I didn't have it straight, totally straight and centered in the hoop. It's placed my design for me is what it's done. I don't have to do it myself. Now, some of these machines, all of these machines that have the camera also have the capability of just taking a picture of your fabric in the hoop so you can see your fabric on the screen. That would be fantastic because it would show me the neckline of my t-shirt, but because I have this tube of extra fabric here, it's going to be really hard for it to scan. If I was doing a full scan of my hoop, it would have needed to scan all the way over here as well. And you can see how much bulk of fabric I have. So I prefer to use the snowman sticker when I'm embroidering on garments because it just perfectly places my design. And I don't have to worry about running into all this bulk of fabric if I try to do a true scan of the fabric in my frame. So again, we have classes specific to using this snowman sticker if you haven't done it before. If you have it on your machine, you should definitely be using it. It is an incredible feature. Now that it's placed my design, I'm going to take the sticker off. Make sure it doesn't pucker your fabric at all. So remember to slide that fabric back down. Pressed nicely on our sticky stabilizer. And now I'm ready to embroider. I've hooped my fabric, created this little tube here, so I'm not going to stitch my t-shirt closed. I've used my snowman sticker to perfectly place my embroidery design, and I am ready to stitch the A section or the left section of this design. The first part of this design starts out with this little floral part. Well, I already started stitching this design because I didn't want to take 18 minutes to stitch it out in front of you guys. I want to show you how to connect the second half. So I already started stitching this design, but you'll notice what I stitched looks a little bit different than the design here on the screen. So I chose to take out some of these sections. I didn't want that orange swirl in the back, so I just skipped past that color. I didn't want these 3 rows of stars where there's a star in the middle, a star in the very center, then a star outside, and then that bold red outline. I didn't want that. I just wanted stars without any swirls, without any dots. So what I did here, I could have done this in my embroidery software. I just did it right on the screen of my machine. So I knew I didn't want these swirls. So I just went to my needle plus or minus, and I skipped right past that. I said, I don't want to stitch that part out. So these are just stars. I stitched all of these out. So that's how I started getting this design. Stitched out all of these stars. Then I went to the next half. Well, this star is actually in the center of this piece here, and I really just wanted this outline. So I skipped past that as well. So I was just really picky with which pieces and parts I wanted to stitch out. So I was able to make the design how I wanted it to be. Still the same general shape. I just took out pieces and parts that I didn't want. So remember, that's always an option. You can move past certain color changes if you don't want those designs, those sections of the designs to stitch out. Some of the newer machines have a really cool no-sew feature. It's not on this machine, but it would be in your previous menu, and it looks like a little spool of thread with a red line through it. And that would actually allow me to take out those orange stitches and they would remove off the screen. And then it would just be grayed out here. So I wouldn't even have to scoot past that color. It would just tell me, hey, you've chose not to stitch this color out, and it would move right to the next color. So it's a pretty cool feature. All right, I am going to let this design start, and we'll just stitch out the stars here. Here we go. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and stop it after this one. So then, of course, it would just keep doing the embroidery design. It would go through all the sections. And when we get to the very last color change, it's just going to be these two little red X's. Or not red, I mean, you could stitch them out in whatever color you want, but on the screen they are two tiny little red X's, probably quite hard to see. They're very, very small. Just two little red X's. Those are really important to stitch out. Those are going to be little registration marks. So we'll go ahead and let those stitch out next. There we go. Okay, so we're finished embroidering, and now we're ready to line up the bee piece. So we have our bee template we're going to grab. I'm going to go ahead and slide the hoop off. Again, just being aware that I don't catch that fabric in the back. Wiggle it under the foot. And grab another piece of stabilizer. Okay. So we'll come back over here to our hooping kind of station. Check the camera there. It should be okay. All right. So now what we're going to do is we're going to unhoop this. And when you cut everything away, I like to kind of pull the fabric back a little bit so I can see the edge of the stitching there. So I can see where that little registration mark is, where I can see where the stitching is. And I like to cut pretty close. I like to cut this way from the top of the fabric so I don't have to worry about cutting into my t-shirt at all. So here I can see that the t-shirt is fully pulled away, and I can just see that I'm cutting the stabilizer. All right. There we go. So that is section number 1. We'll go ahead and turn it right side out and take a look at it. Of course, I only stitched out a very small portion of the design because I didn't want to, have it stitch out for super long. So there's just one little section. I could go in and trim quite a bit more. This is more of the design. Again, I still took out some of the sections, but you can see the stabilizer is cut fairly close on the back, just to leave out a ton of excess there. Okay, now we have to get the B section. So I'm going to, again, start with my sticky cutaway stabilizer. I'm going to put the paper side of the stabilizer facing up. And we'll just catch that in the hoop. Oops. Perfect. I like to just check from top to bottom to make sure that my hoop is pushed down as far as it can go. I'm going to grab that pin and score this top of the stabilizer, the paper topping. And reach into that center of that X I just made to kind of find where that stabilizer or that paper will pull up away from the stabilizer. And then just peel it all the way back to the edges. Sticky stabilizer comes in cutaway like we're using today for our t-shirt. Also, this is what I used on the sweatshirt that I embroidered on that I showed you at the start of club. It also comes in a tearaway, sticky tearaway, and sticky water soluble as well. So a lot of different options for the sticky stabilizer. Stabilizer is always dependent on the fabric you're embroidering on. So again, if it's something you're going to wear, you're probably not going to tear the stabilizer away. You probably want a cutaway stabilizer. Sometimes the water soluble is nice if you don't want any stabilizer left behind, if you don't need anything behind to support the stitching. So a lot of different options. So we used our A template. Now I'm going to go to my B. I'm going to stack those two marks so I can see what is my horizontal line and what is my vertical line. And I'm just going to fold this back along that horizontal line. Again, this is going to help me place that snowman sticker down, which is what's going to place my design for me. I'll then crease that towards me. All right, that's my horizontal line. I'm going to grab 2 pins. And I'm going to line up the crosshairs, the little X's that stitched out with the X's on my template. So to do this, I'm going to take a pin and I'm going to pop it through the center of the first X. And then lift up my fabric so I can pop the pin through the center of my fabric. So I just know that those two are lined up nicely. And then I'll do the same thing with the bottom. Going through the center of the template first, center of the X, and oh, this is not lining up because this is the wrong design. This is not my star design. I was like, whoa, those X's are way off. Okay, let me grab the right template. Sorry about that. Here we go. This is the one we want. Big difference. Line up my first X. And then the second one. Just dropping that pin right into the center of the X. Now what I can do is I can just lay that flat, making sure I like the spacing. I can play around slightly if I feel like maybe the X was a little farther away on the, not the X, oh my goodness. The star was about 1 inch away on this side. So, oh, my pins just fell out. Sorry, I'm trying to keep my hands away so you can see it. So I'm going to visually like lay this here for a second. Line up that star, line up that star. I'm going to pull out these registration marks of my fabric. So nobody's going to see those. They don't always have to line up. It's just a visual. So lining up this X on my template with the star, lining up this star on my template with the star that's stitched out on my fabric here, I can see that star is meant to be about 1 inch away from the edge. So now when I come back to this template, I'll just visually line those up. And it's a little less than 1 inch, so I could choose to scoot that out a hair. I like that a little better. So I'm playing around with positioning the template, but also just kind of eyeballing on my fabric where I want the design to be. So I like that a lot. I like the lineup of these 2 stars, lineup of those stars, and lineup of that one. So now I'm going to use my pins to just help hold this in place. So as I use my snowman sticker, it's not going to shift at all. I'll grab my snowman sticker Same thing, I'm going to line up the horizontal and vertical lines. So fold this down and lift it up. Horizontal line looks good along the fold of my fabric, and then when I open it, vertical lines look lined up really nicely as well. Double check the horizontal, and then just press so that sticker doesn't move at all. So simple for placing your designs. There we go. We will repeat that tube shape. So turning everything inside out. Finding that sticker and getting it somewhat close to the center of the hoop. Doesn't have to be exact. There we go. And then just taking our time as we press the fabric down to make sure we're not stretching it or pressing any puckers down into the fabric. The stabilizer is great because if I like press a pucker in or a stretch or just don't like the position, I can just pull everything back up and try it again. It stays sticky for quite a while. So if I have like a little crease here that I don't like, just lift it up and press back down. Can really take the time laying the fabric where I want it to be. There we go. That's that. We'll take it over to the machine and we'll stitch out a couple more stars. And then before we're done, I also want to talk about another embroidery design that's on this collection that we're using, the Amazing Designs Master Collection. So we have these in the store. We don't carry a lot of embroidery designs in the store, but these are some that we had left over. I found them in the back of the room. Again, over 700 designs on a USB. They come right on the USB for you in all the multiple design formats. So this is over like a $700 value, I believe. It says $2,500 value, but 700 designs. And our price in the store, I want to say, is $135. So you get a ton on there for a fantastic price. All right, here we go. Let's take this over to the machine here. Slide it on. Just watching where the fabric is. Once I get my left side lined up, I'll slide the hoop on and lock it in place. Remember, I have to give access to that upper left corner because when I scan for the snowman sticker, it's going to want to see where that upper left corner is. That's where the scan starts. So, not going to clamp the fabric yet. I'm just going to kind of move it away from the embroidery area. And I'm going to tell the machine I need my next design. So I'll go to my home screen. Embroidery. It's on my USB again. All the designs come on a USB. This is our jeweled necklines. Choose your format. We are doing the stars here. And we need the B design, the right side. Remember, you have curved necklines and V necklines as well. So a lot to choose from. All right, ready to embroider. I'm going to go to my edit screen and tell it I'm using my snowman sticker. Yes, this is where I want the center of my design. Again, I checked that the snowman sticker is in the middle. I'm going to tell it to go ahead and scan. Just gives me a warning that the carriage is going to move. I'm going to say, okay. I'm just going to kind of help keep that fabric pushed away in that upper left corner. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry, I just knocked the hoop or knocked the camera. All right, found that sticker very quickly. There we go. It has placed my design for me. says remove that positioning sticker. Please don't stitch over that paper. You want to make sure you remove it completely. They are quite sticky. This is the same sticker I used on the other side. They are reusable. Plus, with the machines, you usually get like these full sheets of stickers, but they're very reusable. Don't think you have to use them once and throw them away. Now I'm going to utilize those clips to keep my fabric out of the way, and we will stitch out the same stars just to see how the placement turned out. I'm going to turn that. I really liked using that sleeve to help pull the fabric away. So do that again. Okay, should be good. Not too worried about that stuff in the back there. So, all right. I am going to, it would start the B side with stitching out those registration marks. You can go in and double check. So for instance, I could tell the machine to plus to the first stitch. So it's going to move to where that registration mark should be. So for those of you that do not have the snowman sticker, this would be the way that you would place it. So I can see now, if I turn on my laser, it's close, but it's not exact. So if I wanted to scoot it over, now would be the time to click on my move arrows and scoot it over a little bit. If I want to check the next position, I can plus forward some stitches. And there's my second one. Second one is really nice. So I'm really happy with that. I chose to rotate that first crosshair out a little bit because I didn't want the star too close to my neckline. You do have to be aware, ready-to-wear clothing is not going to be perfectly symmetrical. It's not going to have perfect measurements. So I went more by the visual of wanting that top star to be an inch away from my hem there, or my neckline. So I'm pretty happy with the placement that I had chose before, but that's the reasoning of the registration marks is it stitches out at the end of the first design and it would stitch out at the start of the second design. So you can make sure your design is lined up nicely. And now we're ready to just plus forward to that color that we want, which is going to be our stars right here. And away we go. All right, I'll go ahead and stop it after this one. Cool. Then, of course, it would just continue on with the design. Now, if you're looking to line up both sides, do be aware that both sides are not going to stitch out exactly the same. So you'll notice when we look at this one had one big star here. It has two kind of medium stars. These ones are pretty similar. That one's pretty similar. I guess a lot of the rest of the design is the same, but this middle connection where middle portion of the design where it connects may not be exactly the same. Let me look at our other one that I stitched out on the orange shirt. Well, no, that one looks pretty symmetrical. So yeah, maybe they are slightly, for the most part, symmetrical. Just watch that middle section if you're trying to line something up. Yeah, they may not be exactly the same, and it may just be this one that's not the difference with the stars there. We were looking at this star up here and making sure it was about an inch on each side, and that is symmetrical on both sides. So it should have worked out well, but let's go ahead and take the fabric off and check. So I will pull the hoop off, remove the tips. Just kind of ease that fabric under the foot. All right. So now when we take it out of the hoop, same idea, we'll do some trimming. So these designs are great for just, store-bought, ready-to-wear t-shirts, nice way to kind of, make them a little prettier, a little more than just a plain t-shirt, really add to it. There's the, fun autumn leaves, so you could do some seasonal designs. There's the seashells. There was just the swirls, which could kind of go for any season, and you could really match specific to your fabric. This design that I did here on this shirt, you could see you could have stitched it out in more patriotic colors, red, white, and blue, if you stitched out the entire design. I chose to stitch it out, since I wasn't stitching out the whole thing, in just these real bright pink stars. So our seams lined up. There we go. Looks really nice, looks really even on our sides. I like how that looked. And then remember, you just go in and you take out those basting registration marks. I'm also going to finish this one that I did. This is the same design. Again, I just chose to do it in one color. So I took out some of those intersections of the stars. I took out the swirl in the back, and I just want it to be more of a monochromatic look. And I'm going to do the repeat on the other side. So yeah, these two are the same designs, but very different look depending on what colors you choose. So yeah, that is the jeweled necklines. Let me know if you have any questions about that. Really, really fun designs. Again, they come in all the different formats. And this was the other one that I had stitched out. Again, just in one color, but really nice how it lines up. Very easy to do. Awesome. All right, the other design that we're going to look at is called Fashionable Freestanding Lace. So let's go ahead and take a peek at that one. That is from this same design pack. I'm going to go to my home screen and back to the USB. All right, it is this very last one down here, Fashionable Freestanding Lace. So they're really pretty designs. And again, they're meant to go specifically on garments. You could do anything with them. but a lot of these have this kind of straight line and then kind of bump out on one side. So they're made to go down like the edge of like a button down shirt. You can see how it would go nicely around like the collar of the shirt and then straight down the button. So you could do one on the left side, one on the right side. You could do designs like in the bottom corner of a shirt. You could also do these on napkins as well. So maybe if you have some kind of decorative napkins that you use around the holiday. Some really pretty designs here. There's a lot built into this folder, some different shapes. So you could do these along the bottom of a pair of jeans as well. Maybe something like this along the bottom of a pair of pants. Or going up the side of a pair of pants would look really cool as well. The nice thing about this is it is freestanding lace, so you're going to stitch it out separate and then you're going to attach it to your garment, which makes it a little bit easier. We don't have to worry about the bulk of garment like we were doing just now with the t-shirts when we embroidered right on the t-shirts. So the design that I chose to stitch out was this one right here. So this is a really pretty freestanding lace design. It filled my whole 6x10 hoop. It's 4.53 wide by 9.64 inches tall. Freestanding lace, it takes 109 minutes to stitch out, I guess depending on the speed that the machine is at. Yeah, it's at 1050. So 109 minutes to stitch out. This design was 15 different color changes. But it looks like it repeats. So there's a light lilac, a pewter, and a lilac, and a magenta. And then it looks like those colors kind of just keep repeating in different sections. So essentially 4 colors, but the way it's layered, it's going to be 15 different color changes, which would be beautiful. But you know me, I'm going to do it all in one color because I'm going to set this up and I'm going to walk away. So stitched out like this. Let me get something to put this on here. Kind of a dark background, so you can really see a ton of detail in the design. Stitched out really beautiful. So even though I chose one color, you can still see all the different shapes and intricacies of this design. Just really beautiful how it's stitched out. Really nice stitch quality on these designs. Yeah, it did fray a little bit around the edges, but I think it was just because I was trying to rinse out a lot of the stabilizer. So I was kind of rubbing it like this as I was rinsing it out. So I would just be maybe a little more gentle, maybe just let it lay in some water as it rinses out. I didn't overly rinse it. I do want it a little stiff as I'm sewing it onto my garment. So that's what I want to show you now, is how you could attach some of these fashionable freestanding lace designs to your garment. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to the sewing side of the machine. I'm not going to take 109 minutes to stitch this out for you. I've already stitched it out. And I am going to change out my thread. So I stitched this freestanding lace design out with just kind of like an off-white Floriani thread. And I'm going to use just an off-white sewing thread to sew it on. I could have used the same Floriani thread to sew it on. I just didn't. I just used sewing thread. Okay, I'm going to go to the sewing side of my machine. So that embroidery arm just scooted all the way over. I'm actually going to leave it on. I'm just going to push this down because this will be really nice to help support my fabric as I'm sewing. I don't necessarily have to take the embroidery unit off. It's a nice feature on some of the machines where you don't have to take the whole embroidery unit off. Just going to unscrew my embroidery foot. And I'm going to put on my free motion foot. Uh-oh, free motion can be tricky, right? This is a great way to kind of practice free motion. So we're really not going to have to worry about doing any like beautiful designs. We're just going to kind of use it to stitch on this design. or I'll stitch on this embroidery. So I'm just going to choose a straight stitch, and I am going to drop my feed dogs. Oh, sorry. Dropping your feed dogs on this machine. This is a dream machine too. Dropping your feed dogs is this little symbol up here. Automatically drops my feed dogs and tells me to put on my free motion foot. All right, so these embroidery designs are made to go really nicely on like a button-down shirt. So I have this shirt here, and I sewed one side down on the front. See how pretty it looks? Let me go ahead and just do a button here or two really quick. So you can see how nicely it looks down the front of a button-down shirt. No, you can't because the camera's too low. There we go. Right? Isn't that pretty? There's so many designs in this design pack that work for this type of a shirt. Or you could even sew two together down the front of like a regular shirt and just butt the two together in the middle. So if I had one on this side, just lining it up with the hem here, and then if I had another one, I could just sew it to the front as well and just crease them together. Yep. So yeah, a lot of options here. We're going to sew this on the other side of the shirt so you can see how I did this. Let me unbutton this. All right, I am going to bring you over here. So this is the left side of my shirt. I'm going to pop that collar up there at the top. And just lay this in place for a second. I'm going to go ahead and grab some pins. Because I'm going to want to temporarily pin it in place. So what I want to do is I want to get this upper left corner lined up really nicely with this position on my shirt, this kind of upper crease here, right along both edges. Good. I'm just going to line that up nicely, and then I'm going to pin it in place, making sure that this line here is perfectly lined up all the way down. And then I'll just get a pin and set that in place. Cool. Now, I'll pin a little bit farther down just to hold it down here as well. I don't need a ton of pins in place, but I just want to temporarily hold it. And that's also why I didn't like overly rinse this. I know when I wash this garment, it's going to remove a lot of the stabilizer in here. I actually want it a little bit stiff as I'm sewing it on, so I don't have to worry about it shifting at all or like puckering at all. Probably should have pressed this. I would have liked that little crease that keeps trying to happen not to be there, but now it doesn't perfectly line up with the neckline. It didn't on the other side as well, but when that collar's down, you won't even notice it. So just want to make sure the base fabric is laying nicely. And then we'll do one more pin on the outside here, just to hold it all together. All right, we're going to take it to the machine. I'm going to show you how to do some free motion on this to hold it all together. Okay. So I'm going to pop that collar back up. Oops. Hitting buttons on the screen. So for me, it's most important that that upper left corner lines up with the collar there nicely as it did on the other side. So I'm really going to start with that piece first. And then once that piece is set, I'll just continue around the edges. So I'm going to slide that pin out, slide my fabric over, and just go ahead and lower the foot down. All right, for free motion, I'm gonna wanna go fairly slow. I don't have my foot pedal over here, so I'm gonna be using the start stop button on the machine, which it's fine to use. I would have preferred the foot pedal. I just forgot to grab it. So if you're using the start stop button, you really want to think about the speed control. For normal free motion, I'm going to be usually between 1/2 and 3/4. This isn't true free motion. I don't care about my stitch length. I'm actually going to be kind of going from left to right to almost make like a little bit of a zigzag stitch. So I'm going to slow it down just a little bit until I kind of get the hang of it, and then maybe we'll adjust from there. I'm going to grab my top thread and I'll just do a needle down, needle up. Will allow me to pull that little bit of bobbin thread up. And now I have my tails ready. Slide it under the foot. And I'm ready to go. So I'm just kind of zigzagging back and forth. Again, not super worried about like, I don't really have to be super worried about how precise my stitch length is. I'm not really going to see any of this, so I'm just essentially trying to tack this down in place, just so it holds really nicely onto my garment. I don't want to make the stitches too big, or it's going to pull apart on me. And I can't zigzag there because the button's in the way, so that's okay. I just sewed straight. I'm going to pause a second and slide this pin out. All right, I'm going to speed it up just a hair. And here we go, all the way to the end. So now here, as I'm going over these little bumps, I'm going to turn the fabric sideways. I found it was easier to kind of see what I'm about to be getting into. So I'm just going to turn the fabric sideways. And now I'm just going to stitch within this mesh area. I'm not going to try to go over these bumps at the end. They are quite thick. So I'm just going to stitch here within that mesh. And again, just kind of making sure my base fabric is flat. This is, again, quite stiff. So it's really allowing me to move it nicely. I'm going to speed it up a little bit. That is very slow. Here we go. So just staying fairly close to the edge, but not all the way at the edge. Ideally, try not to sew through the real thick parts of this design. Remember, freestanding lace can get fairly dense in some spots. So trying to stay away from those. I'm going to pause as I get close to my pin up here and take that out. And then just again, making sure I'm happy with how the fabric is laying. So pretty different from regular free motion. Regular free motion, I really want to be nice and smooth. Here I'm trying to make this kind of zigzag shape. I'm trying to go very angular. But just all the way around the edge of the embroidery design. So it tacks it down and holds it nicely. Oh, okay. So if you get to some really dense parts, as I just did, and we may have had this happen before with just regular embroidery or sewing, if you ever notice this, sometimes the thread does some really weird things. I'm going to lift the needle up. Notice how it has like caught, and somehow my thread's coming down, it's looped down and then coming back up through my needle. I just kind of have a mess there in my needle area. I am going to have to address this. So I'm going to cut the thread at my project, anywhere that touches the project, and then lift it up. I can see here the thread is actually looped behind the needle. I'm not sure how well that shows on camera, but I have thread behind my needle here. So I'm going to just completely undo it, and I'll have to rethread. But just because I've fixed the top part of my thread situation, remember we have a bobbin thread as well, and my bobbin thread may very well still be kind of messed up. And I also haven't trimmed my bobbin thread yet, which means my tail is getting longer as I keep pulling. So I'm going to turn it around here and give a snip. So thankfully I don't have any big mess. There's no big thread jam or anything there. So we addressed it pretty quickly and we don't have to worry too much about that. I am going to reset my bobbin just to ensure that it's in there correctly. And I will rethread my needle. Okay, we were right at the end, so close to being done. So I'm just going to finish that, trying to, we're stitched, we just have this little gap here, enough for my finger to get in. This is kind of where it messed up on this little bit of bulk here, but I also don't want to stitch way over here because I wasn't able to reinforce these stitches. So I'm going to try to go back over here and maybe just be a little more careful about where I'm landing my stitches. So again, I pulled up my bobbin thread. And scoot the counter back just a hair so I can push my start button. Okay. Trying to sew nice and close to that edge, just so I don't get back into that bulk again. Do a couple back and forward locking stitches and cut. All right, I'm going to trim those thread tails we had there. And step back and take a look at it. So it seems like it's all attached nicely. If I look at the inside, yeah, stitches probably aren't fantastic, but again, from the outside, I cannot tell. I used a very matching thread, so it was really just there to attach my freestanding lace. I'm not too worried about what it looks like or seeing it. All right, let's take a look at it. So, button down. They're really pretty designs. Give a nice kind of, this feels like a Western feel to the shirt. There we go. So really beautiful freestanding lace. Again, this is just one of the many designs in that design pack for the fashion lace itself. But again, all of the other design pack options in the machine, from quilt blocks with your embroidery machine, to the jeweled necklines that we did today, to making the quiet books, so like the counting quiet books that you use. Yeah, and then just an array of designs. There's some Christmas trees, there's some owls, just a lot of different options. So it's a really fun design pack. Again, we have a few of these left in the store here. Pretty rare that you can buy design packs in the store now. A lot of companies have gone to online. I love that it's already on a USB for you. So all of the designs come on the USB with the multiple formats. So a lot you're getting in this design bundle. And yeah, that's that. Remember, a couple things. If you have questions about how to use your snowman stickers, give us a call or look on our website. We have a class specific to learning how to use your snowman stickers. Those are in our section of mini classes. So that's where we're focusing on a very specific technique with just like 3 people at a time. So it's a mini class, which means you're getting very hands-on attention. So it's a great way to learn, but they fill up quickly because it's only 3 people per class. But we do them multiple times a month. So if you go to the website and it says sold out for the snowman sticker class, just give us a call and put your name on the waiting list, or check back in a couple weeks. We'll have some more dates going into July and August. Make sure you learn how to use your snowman sticker. It is incredible for helping you place your embroidery designs. Very, very nice feature. If you're wanting to learn how to make your own t-shirts, you could definitely stitch this design out on a flat chunk of fabric first, and then cut your t-shirt from there. We have a class coming up on making your own t-shirt. It's called the Classic Tee project class. So check our website for that as well. We provide the fabric, so you're working with knit fabrics. And we provide the serger. You're going to be using a serger. Sergers are always fantastic for your knit fabrics. They handle them the best. They lay them the flattest. So yeah, we have that class as well. And then we have a Floriani event coming up with Trevor. That is in early October. So we just have the dates for that. If you're interested in putting your name down so we can call you when we have more information, you can give us a call. Our number is 330-920-1583, and you can put your name on the list for that. So we'll call you when we get more information. We know the dates. We just need to figure out exact information and prices and things like that, time slots, all the good information. So yeah, we have a lot coming up. Thank you so much for joining me. I just noticed my head is cut off. That's hilarious that I'm talking to you guys. You can see my mouth, but not me. There we go. That's me. Yeah, thank you guys so much for joining me. Remember, we do not do clubs in July, so we will come back to you again in August. But please let us know if you have any suggestions for clubs that you would like to see. I love your input, so let me know. And oh, the whole month of July. Don't forget, in the store, we do a 30% off. So all of our customers, when you purchase a machine from us, you get that lifetime discount. You get 20% off all the time. For the entire month of July, you get 30% off. So that is for any customer that walks in the store, 30% off for the whole month of July. That's on all of our notions along the wall, some of the accessory feet around the store, some of the threads. The reason I say some is because the 30% off is any of the white tickets in our store. So we have little sales tags on all of our product. If it's a white ticket, you get 30% off for the whole month of July. If it's a neon tag, those are new within the past couple months. So let me explain that a little bit. Those have the discount price already built into them. So it's a different color tag, so you can realize you're still getting your 30% off, but you get that the entire year now. You don't have to wait till the month of July. That is on our Floriani stabilizers, our Floriani thread. That is on our Isacord embroidery thread in the store. Trying to think of what else. Yeah, that's all I can think of off the top of my head. But those items that you use a lot, you get that 30% off all year long now. So it's a really nice discount that you get year round. There was a little bit of confusion because people were used to getting their discount on top of the price. It's built in now. It's fantastic. The white tags around the store, though, 30% off for the whole month of July. So that's your sewing thread. That's probably a lot of the bobbins next door, except the Bernina bobbins. Those are already discounted. But you'll see. Join us in July in the store. We have a lot going on. Please check our website. It's just www.barnssewing.com for all of our events. We have a ton of events planned for this year. We just keep adding more. We have a day where you're going to be making pajama pants if you're interested in that. Trying to do a few more garment construction classes. So we have the t-shirt, we have the pajama pants. Molly is working on a bag project again. So if you like making bags and purses, we have a new one coming up for you. So stay tuned. Thank you guys so much for watching. Everybody have a great day. Appreciate you.